Hello and welcome. Tonight on the show, we're going to be looking at a Keystone Snack Special. We have B&L French Onion Dip and a special surprise here, Zapp's Potato Chip Voodoo Flavor. Ooh, gonna sick the witch doctor on you. We're really glad to have you here tonight. Thank you for joining us. As always, this is Sauce Spoken.
And we're back. We are Sauce Spoken. We are your three chip dipping boys here talking about your favorite sauces, condiments, and dips. I'm here. I'm your host, Adam. I'm joined here today with my co-host, Tori.
That's right. Dip chipping away. We are delighted to have you here today, of course. Thank you. And to my right, E.
Thanks, Tori. I'm here, dipping the chicken nuggets instead.
The nuggets.
I'm being a rebel, yes.
Where are you hiding these nuggets?
That's actually what I had for dinner. With lots of sauces.
Very nice.
Did you have the shows, the ones that we purchased with business funds?
I did not. I went and got my own chicken nuggets.
Good.
And I dipped them in honey.
Where'd you get them from?
Did you char the living shit out
Burger
of them?
King.
From Burger King?
Yeah, I got them from Burger King.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I used TG's $3 coupon.
Nice. Good.
For my 10-piece and large fry.
Did you get zesty sauce?
I did not. I passed on the zesty sauce. Not my thing.
Well, them's fighting words, huh?
I know.
We rated that one pretty good, too. It was towards the top. But anyways, so I wanted to, thank you guys all for listening. As always, we really appreciate that. If you guys enjoy listening to us, one of the best things you can do for us right now is to go on to whatever platform you're listening to us on and give us a little rating or review, particularly if you can do that on like an iTunes or an Apple Podcast where you can leave us a written review. Stuff like that really kind of helps us reach more listeners and kind of helps us keep doing this for you guys, and we really enjoy doing that. On that note, E, how was your week?
It's been a very busy week. It started off on Sunday. I was moving my sister in Ohio. We had at least good weather for it for the most part. Just snow on us a little bit, but it was a little chilly, but it was at least sunny for the most part. It was relatively dry. My dad got our grandfather's truck, and luckily we didn't have too much to move other than some big furniture items. And so it started off sore and bruised, and then work has been just pummeling me all week long. So, it's been a tough week.
The punishment continues.
Now,
pretty much. Mental punishment at my job.
We moved on from physical to mental.
Yeah.
We're a few weeks into 2021 now, and I think last week you had mentioned that you had a resolution to not take any naps. How's that going so far?
Oh,
epic fail this
Moment
week.
Of truth.
Epic
Yeah,
fail.
you knew that. Yeah, right.
I was rooting for you too. Actually, you took a little bit to let us in. For those of you who don't know, we record at Eric's house, aka the Nerd Palace.
Yes.
Which there are pictures of now on the Instagram, actually.
Right, true, yeah.
And you took us a little bit to let us in today, and I was speculating that perhaps you were on a nap at this very moment.
Nope, I was just washing dishes.
Oh, okay.
And locked you boys out unintentionally.
So what finally tripped it? What was it that got you to take your first nap of the year?
It was my first what was that? NFL, yeah, National Football League.
That puts
game.
me to sleep too.
Yeah, that I hadn't. I'm not a big sports person. I watched my first football game probably in 3 years. I was watching the Browns against the Steelers.
Oh wow.
And
they won.
And they clobbered them. It was great.
They being the Browns, I guess.
Yeah,
we stated for the Bertman's Ballpark Mustard that you and I, Eric, are originally from the Cleveland-ish area.
Right. So yeah, it was a cool game, but it was up late, and so I was pretty tired the next day at work on Monday. And yeah, that started the whole cycle of miserable, take a nap, then can't go to sleep, and then...
That's what... Once you get one nap in, then you stay up later that night, and it becomes a cycle, and that's why it's so important to break that.
Break the cycle, bro.
Yeah, it was bad. And then, of course, today I did the same thing. I took a nap for a good, hour when I got home from work.
Well,
disappointing, dude. I'm sorry to hear that.
But I'm keeping my activity rate up still, so I'm still
and
moving
the other
more.
thing, I think we had talked about this last week, is that the key is... Don't give up on your goal just because you failed at it once. That doesn't excuse you, if you would, from failing the rest of the year. Just get back on that horse.
Absolutely, yeah. I fully intend to just keep trying to be more active, not take naps, and get some.
Have you tried taking up smoking cigarettes?
Will it
healthy
work?
lifestyle
That perks
choices.
you up.
Yeah.
That perks you up, doesn't it? Isn't that one of those little nicotine buzz keeps you up?
Yeah.
Sounds like a terrible idea.
Maybe a little zap.
What about you, Tori? How was your week?
Oh, I had a pretty good week. All things being equal, I made a new friend.
That's right.
Yeah, over the last couple of days, a fellow podcaster, a spoken mess, my friend Ollie, he reached out to me on Friday, and we got together and recorded a podcast just this morning, as a matter of fact. So my talker is just about talked out.
Oh, no.
Yeah, believe that or not. And what a terrible shame for you guys, boy.
And
We're really going to miss out.
What a tragedy.
To help our listeners out a little bit who may be a little bit confused, this episode's going to actually release, I believe, 2 weeks after today, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So you'll be going back 2 weeks to look at, what is it? You want to plug it again there,
Yeah,
Tori?
it's a spoken mess.
Spoken mess.
Yeah, they're currently on YouTube, and go on and check him out. He's a real nice fella. His name's Ali. Him and I had a terrific conversation about a number of things, and go check him out. He's wonderful.
It's an interview style show. Is that correct?
Yeah. I would say so. I listened to a handful of his programs over the weekend, and that was certainly the flavor. Yeah.
Okay, that's very cool. I know it's going to be on my listening list here coming up towards the weekend. It sounds like, based on what you were telling me, you two had a whole lot of fun on there. So
I think so. Yeah. I mean, we chatted for quite a while, and it's one of those things. You're having a good time, and a couple hours go by, it's a blink of an eye. So time flies when you're having fun, and that was certainly what happened.
Very cool. That's exciting stuff to kind of be branching out for us a little bit more like that. We kind of listener involvement. We're trying to kind of pick that up a little bit. So that's a good. That's cool. That was nice of him to reach out to you and offer that.
Most definitely. Yeah, I sincerely appreciate the opportunity and the chance for the conversation. It was a treat.
Very cool. I wanted to briefly introduce here a new segment to the show.
Oh, boy.
And I'm still kind of working on a name for this, but I think right now I'm going to call this Rewind.
Oh, man. Nick Whoops Sauce.
And in this
Is
segment...
that politically correct?
I don't know. We may edit the name, but...
Wow.
If you're offended by this, I apologize.
But too bad.
Yeah, but it's airing anyways. No, I wanted to use this segment to kind of go back and visit old podcast business that we had talked about on older episodes. And one of the things I had noticed when I was...
What? Oh, boy. Okay.
Yeah, sometimes, I think it's... Sometimes I want to go back and kind of provide updates on past shows. Sometimes we said that we'll look into some things, and we don't always... we're not always good at getting back to that. So, and I'm always frustrated by podcasts that don't do that when they don't get back to the things they tell you they'll update you on. So I wanted to give a little section there where we could maybe provide some updates.
So this is basically a bunch of fact checking on all of our
not
hard stances.
Well, a little bit of fact checking, but mainly just some items of note, maybe some things that we said we'd look into, and we're following up on that. That's all.
Yeah,
sounds cool.
The one thing I'd noticed was in last week's episode, Eric. You were giving us a description on how to make a barbecue chicken pizza with an ivory barbecue sauce, and I mistakenly stated towards the latter half of that I was talking about a buffalo chicken pizza, but you also made a bit of a mistake when you were describing the tomatoes. You described them as Romano tomatoes.
Wow.
I believe you meant to say Roma tomatoes.
Roma. Yeah, right. Roma.
That's fun. You fucked it up again. Romano.
Yeah, huh.
But no, another actual little update, a little factoid that I learned is that the xanthan gum and gar gum and the various other gums that you typically find in sauces are used as thickening agents.
Should have known that. That seems like a duh.
I know it does seem, in retrospect, when I saw it did seem like a duh thing, but I know we're having a lot of fun kind of playing off that, but now if we see those in future ingredient lists, we know what they're for.
Now in our ever hunt for our thick vinegar, we know just use
we could add the xanthan gum.
Gar and xanthan gum.
Gar gum. Well, that's another thing too. When I saw it written, is it guar gum or is it gur gum or gar gum? Because it's Gaur, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Off your memory from like 4 weeks ago. But anyways, that's it for Rewind.
Wow.
Getting back into
that was fun.
Getting back into this week. Why don't you lead us off, Eric, with the sauce that we're going to be talking about here today?
Well, sure. That's an interesting way of putting it. I don't know if I'd really call this a sauce. This is our first dip.
Yeah, that's a good point. On that note, I think we had discussed maybe last week in general, we've been wanting to branch out a little bit more to things that weren't so much strictly like the barbecue sauces, the mustards, etc. We wanted to kind of branch out more into like some salad dressings, some thicker dip type things, or what was one of the other things we had mentioned?
Dip, sauces, and condiments is kind of our tagline.
Yeah, wasn't there something else? Oh, like a pasta sauce or something like that, maybe. You know, some other just things that are not so much straight up the. I think most of what we've done so far we call sauces, but I think would fall more into the condiment.
Yes, that's fair, definitely
category.
Yeah,
but on that end, no, what like you were getting to there, Eric. Today, our choice of
tasting,
our tasting choice is more of a dip.
Yes, so we have here BL French Onion Sour Cream Dip. Kind of a little bit of a lengthy name, but this is a Pittsburgh local, owned since 1930. Says it right on the label. There's really not much to the label after that. It is a very clean design to it, and it's a nice little, what we got here, a 12-ounce tub of French onion dip, essentially. I mean, I'll just cut out the sour cream for ease of saying.
Yeah, and we had a little bit of a debate before the show because the way that the name of this whole product line is, it's B, and then right in the center there's a circle, B circle L. And I believe, Tori, you had mentioned you'd always referred to that previously with your family, having grown up in Pittsburgh. Yes. You'd referred to that as B and L.
Yeah, that was maybe it's rolls off the tongue a bit easier.
I agree.
Maybe.
I was honestly thinking you were hearkening to your Monopoly days. R&L line.
Yeah. Right.
R&L, B&L. I mean, yeah, it's easier to say.
It was B&O, though, wasn't it?
Oh, it was the B. Oh, you're right.
Like what you got, B-O.
Hey, thanks. You got him. And then, me as a non-Pittsburgh native, I had assumed it was... I assumed they would have put the ampersand if it was an and, so I just assumed it was BL, but like you said, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. As we learned today, the reason for that particular name is that the person who created it was named
Benjamin Lefkowski.
Yeah, Benjamin Lefkowski.
There you go.
So I assume that was just his initials, so therefore it probably is meant to just be BL.
BL dip.
And he originally made sour cream out in East Liberty, but as we'd started to kind of talk about, this is made not far from where we reside there, Tori. This is right down on the north side of Pittsburgh now.
Yeah, across the river. You could walk there feasibly within a couple of hours.
Yeah, and I believe that prior to that we had discussed thinking it was definitely at least a Pennsylvania institution,
right.
And we've determined now that it's even much more directly Pittsburgh than that.
Yeah, it's down the street. It's across the river, more or less. From on a good day, you might be able to hit it with a rock if your arm's feeling good.
Now, as we had mentioned earlier, this was something that you've had going back to your childhood, Tori.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I can remember teeny tiny TG sitting down with. And the packaging hasn't changed much, to be very honest with you, since those days. The navy oval, which encompasses the white B and L that are in front of there, it's been around forever and ever, as long as I can remember, at least. So yeah, I can remember years ago sitting down with my mother and having a big old tub of this with plain potato chips. We got a little adventurous today, which I'm sure we're going to get into. But when I was doing some full-time smashing on this dip, it was with your plain. Hers original,
right? And I think that is traditional, just to use kind of like a plain potato chip. But I mean, I've always found it, to me, like the plain on plain kind of thing, because sour cream doesn't have a lot of flavor on its own. This does have some seasonings, as we'll get into when we get into the ingredients. No, so I actually find it more pleasant sometimes to mix it up with a more heavily flavored chip and kind of the more mild sauce to kind of bring it home.
Now, me personally, I always see a French onion sour cream dip or other kind of dipping container, dipping sauce. Oh boy, I'm really botching this.
We're leaving this all into every last painful moment.
I just always associate them with like party kind of foods. You know, I don't see this as like something that you're just gonna sit down by yourself with a bag of chips and, you know, a tub of this and call it a meal.
That is where you and I differ.
Yeah.
I know.
Welcome home, brother.
Now, the one thing I will say is that I would never eat this as a meal. What I would do is I would eat an entire meal first and then eat this on top of that and then feel like puking. That's what I would do.
That's probably about right. Yeah.
So you guys just had this in your house as like, just
very much so.
Just every
Absolutely.
day, pull out of the fridge.
Oh, yeah.
A little snack, I guess you would call it. So
Yeah, no question
I don't
about it.
see this as a snack food in my mind per se.
Oh, I absolutely do.
Yeah, I mean, boy, and now that I'm seeing it and I'm tasting it, and boy, the memories are just flooding in. Every afternoon at 4 o'clock, my mother and I would get some chips and dip and watch Jerry Springer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't know there's a whole little tradition about this.
Yeah, right. It was Jerry Springer and then Judge Joe Brown.
One of the things I think is interesting is that, you know, this is apparently a hyper-specific Pittsburgh local thing, and I'm not sure we weren't able to determine how far the spread of this is. At least a half hour north of the city, but probably farther than that if I had to guess. Probably most of western Pennsylvania.
Your guess is as good as mine.
I'm going to take a guess and say
Yeah.
that they have to have some distribution, you know, some extent to their distribution. One of the things I liked about this that you mentioned is that super plain packaging. This dip actually has a little bit more, you know, liveliness in the packaging than like their sour cream does, which is literally just a red dot, I think, on the package, you know, the BL logo.
Yeah, plain typeface, white.
But what I've always found, and what, as not a Pittsburgh native, what drew me to this was actually that simple packaging. You know, I've found that a lot of times things like that, simple packaging is usually indicative of a local product, and usually it beats out the competition by a fair margin.
I think that's fair to say in this case also. You know, there are other dip manufacturers, which I think we're going to be touching on, you know. But, yeah, in my opinion, boy, B&L is top of the line.
Yeah, kind of as you had alluded to there, Tori, pretty much, I mean, lots of manufacturers have their own French onion sour cream style dip. I know probably the most common one nationally available is Hell of a Good. And I believe you had mentioned having that before, Eric. But I mean, there's lots of major brands have their own version of this.
Absolutely, that's for sure. You know, I mean, it's interesting. So, did you grow up, Tori, having B&L sour cream in the house?
Definitely had the sour cream would have been Daisy. I'm thinking.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah, and the horseradish was B&L for certain. Yeah.
Now you make your own.
Yeah. Now I make my own, but yes.
I know me personally, I try anything that I can find for this particular brand. That's generally what I buy. So, like ricotta cheese they make, I buy that if I'm ever using that, or if I'm ever getting like just some regular sour cream and they have the size I want, that's always the choice I go to. Or like you had mentioned, horseradish, I'm a big fan of that. And they do have a pretty good line of products that we can kind of get into a little bit here too.
Yeah, they have a variety of really interesting stuff on their website here that BL makes. We've got tubs of soft cheese. I would assume
yeah, like
they're soft.
that soft spreadable cracker cheese that I really like. Some of it, I think they mix with like a port wine. It's got kind of that pinkish color.
Oh, that sounds really good. They've got ricotta cheese. They've got cornmeal mush.
The sour cream we had previously mentioned.
A variety of dips, and then a variety of condiments even, like we said, with the horseradish,
mustards.
A whole mess of mustards.
They have pickled beet horseradish, which sounds super interesting to me.
Tartar sauce, cocktail sauce,
honey
any
mustard
combination.
sauce.
Yeah, the one thing I wanted to kind of discuss a little bit more was the cornmeal mush, because this is something that I don't believe I've ever had before, and I guess you two, we were talking a little bit before the show, you two have been exposed to this to some extent.
It's a nice treat. I think it's more of a southern kind of thing. Yeah, generally, I mean, there's probably a variety of ways to eat it. The only way I really know of is you buy a block of cornmeal mush, and it's like a brick. It's pretty dense. You cut off like a good like half-inch thick to like 3/4 inch thick slab, and you throw it down on a griddle. You probably should have it coated with some butter.
Getting the recipes here.
Yeah, right.
And then you get it nice and brown. You flip it over, brown the other side. You pull it off. It'll actually soften up. It'll be turned from very stiff brick. It'll actually kind of get a little bit like a little more flexible to it, I guess, would be the way of, it just softens slightly on the inside, but then you're frying it essentially on a skillet with butter, so it gets a nice golden crispy outside to it. You plate it, you can dust it with powdered sugar or pour a little bit of maple syrup on it. Oh yeah, it's so good.
I envision this more as a savory treat.
I think you can go that way with it too if you want.
Okay.
I'm sure you could since it's this cornmeal. Yeah, if you wanted to.
I mean, I'm familiar with grits, or like, which I think you can either do sweet or savory on like grits. I guess I think they're similar things,
Sure.
right?
Yeah, I think they're pretty. Yeah.
One's just more of a solid loaf style, and one's more of a loose bowl style, I guess.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Plate or bowl.
Plate or bowl.
Your pick.
Loose or stiff.
Yeah.
However you like your
There you have it.
mush.
Personally, I like my cornmeal mush. I like the cornmeal blocks over grits. Is grits? I mean, I guess it is a cornmeal, isn't it? Or is it a different type of?
Yeah, I believe it's
grain?
corn. Sure. We'll take a hard stance. It's corn. All grits are corn.
All right.
You heard it here first. Eric says all grits are corn.
Oh, man.
And all corn are grits. But kind of getting back to the thing we were talking about earlier about maybe other versions of this sauce. There's some national ones, which I've had before. Me personally, I tend not to prefer those national chains. And I think it has something to do with kind of like that ultra processed type thing. And I know that they also sell some powders that you can mix into sour cream.
Now that's the one that I've definitely had is the powders that you
I've
mix
not had a
into
whole
sour
lot of
cream.
luck with that, though. I've never had that where I was satisfied with it.
Huh, that's interesting. I mean, again, not a huge expert on this kind of
Dairy products.
yeah, dairy products in general. don't agree with me. And
Both literal and emotional scars from dairy products.
And I always just see this as a party thing, a party event. So I would never keep it in my house or go out and get it
I won't
myself.
allow this in my house. No dairy products of this caliber. No,
Very
actually,
limited experience with it when it comes to this kind of, and I've never had this particular one. I don't know if I've said that yet, but I've never had anything by BL products, and
nothing. Oh, okay.
I've never even seen it before.
Really? It does, well, plain packaging, and they typically tuck it in the little corners of the grocery store, so I could see that.
Yeah.
And like Tori was saying, you're sort of drawn to certain national brands. Like when I made that cheesecake the other day, and I needed sour cream, which again, not something I buy. I don't care for sour cream. It's not something I like to eat, but I needed it for the recipe to make the cheese cake frosting, and I immediately went to Daisy. And that's what I ended up buying, just because it's just like the most brand recognition, I guess. I
used to be more of a Daisy boy, but like I said, I'm trying to transition more to any of these small little local brands I can, just because I think you can definitely taste the difference. Just that, and that's just me.
Yeah. I think there's a certain level of satisfaction just buying from the guy that's down the street. I mean, that's your
true.
neighbor. You know what I mean?
In this case, literally.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly right. I mean, but there's I don't know, there's a certain a coziness, I guess, if you will, to buying like that. So yeah, I hear that 110%.
Yeah, and I fully agree on that too. Buy local and go to your farmer markets and support them. And yeah, it's a feel good kind of thing to do.
It's a feel good thing. Exactly.
Yeah, kind of on the similar notes, something I wanted to touch on a little bit. The only thing I've ever had that I thought was like this and equally as good was from my hometown, another small little organization. There was an old little corner store that is now a Circle K, which for those of you who are outside the I'm not sure how wide their extent is, but there's not many Circle Ks in Pennsylvania at all, but at least not in this area. But there are definitely a lot of them in Ohio, but they're kind of like a little gas station type store. In Ohio, they can sell alcohol there too, so that's kind of nice if you need a little pit stop late night. But it's typically, they've got some foods in there, they've got some snacks, chips, and a little bit of booze and things like that.
They have like a little like prep area too, right? To their like I mean, not as big as like a Sheetz or anything,
right.
But they have a little kitchen area.
Yeah, usually. But that's kind of their little shtick. But this little corner store type thing in my hometown was formerly, before it was a Circle K, it was a Dairy Mart, which I think is a chain, maybe a local chain that has since gone extinct. Are you familiar with the Dairy Marts? Mm-hmm. Okay, you are. Yeah. Okay, so all right. So a chain that I think has gone extinct since then. Prior to that, it was a Lawson's. Have you ever heard of a Lawson's?
That's going back.
Now, that was actually before I think I was born. It was called a Lawson, and the only holdover that still carries over in that one store that I've only ever seen it in that store to this day is Lawson's French onion chip dip. And that, to me, is borderline identical to this in both in taste and in quality. And up until I moved to Pittsburgh, that was known, at least throughout my town, as the best chip dip to have.
Was it simply a coincidence that they were both named Lawson, or did this convenience store have a hand in the
No,
name?
they actually did have a hand in that. That was, and I think, like I said, I think that's a chain that's totally gone extinct, and they must still have some manufacturing facility that is Lawson's, and it's the original container. It's like a purpley type container, kind of simple like that. You know, the same plastic tub, but with a more of like a purple and white and blue kind of almost vaporwave type,
Nice.
you know, throw. It's from the 90s, you know. This is like, it's an old establishment. So, and like I said, I believe that chain has totally died out, and I've never seen this in any other store other than that. But it is still sold there to this day. Several iterations of stores later.
Even
Lawson's
though now
chip
it's a
dip.
Circle K, it still has the Lawson's.
Yes.
That's cool. That's neat.
Yep, absolutely. And like I said, no branding change as far as that goes, but that was, you can't imagine how thrilled I was to come to Pittsburgh after several years and find that they had something that was a suitable replacement for that wasn't a 2-hour drive away.
Well, you know, next time you go and see your folks, I think you need to bring back some Lawsons. We got to see what's good. What's cracking?
I'd be happy to, but what I think you'd be getting primarily out of that was just a look at the packaging, because as far as I'm concerned, these two products could be coming straight out of the same tube. Like, they are one for one. And I would love to do a side-by-side, because it's possible I'm missing something. But truly, as far as I'm concerned, these are identical products.
When's the last time you had this dip?
I'll get it, like you had mentioned, more of a party thing. So back when we used to be able to have parties, I would get that with some of my friends from Ohio, and it was a pretty common treat for us. So if I had to venture a guess, I would say Christmas of 2019.
Okay,
was
so
the last time I
relatively fresh, I guess, was
pretty fresh in mine.
All right,
yeah, I
enough.
definitely
Okay.
have had these in similar, like within 6 months of each other, easily.
I think it'd be fun to do like a blind taste, like to put you to the test, you know, do a B&L. The only me or Tori know what's what, and, you know, put a B&L next to the Lawson's, and then maybe even do like a dry or Hell of Good, or even like a dry mix, just to really throw you off.
To me, the ones that I hate the most out of this type of thing are the ones that don't need refrigeration. There are some that are like shelf stable.
What?
And to me, they're not sour cream paste. They're like some other form of medium that they use to suspend the taste in.
I don't like the sound of that at all.
No, it's terrible.
Sounds
okay,
awful.
so have you ever seen they're like little canned ones, the little tin ones you can find at like a Sheetz? They're next to the chips, and they're about the size of a chewing tobacco can, if you're familiar with that. And they have a little foil lid you peel off, like cat food.
Oh.
Yeah, they have that there.
It's horrible.
Yeah, and like I said, it's tinned like that in a little can. That one, to me, falls well short of the mark that this sets.
Yeah, that sounds too funky for me, man. I don't know.
Now that would be something we could definitely tell the difference between if we want to do a side-by-side.
Yeah, it glows in the dark.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always been a little turned off by things like that should not be shelf stable without refrigeration, but are just sitting out there. The nacho cheese, I'll get a little bit on board with that, and I know you're a fan of that too, Chory.
Oh, hell yes.
Your wife has gone on the record as saying not so much.
Well, I think we established she's a weirdo anyway, but but yeah, man, I'm all over the nacho cheese. Slather that shit on there, boy. Sign me up.
Perfect.
It's kind of funny when you're talking about like shelf stable ones versus having a tub of sour cream based. You know, it's fresh. It's fresh and creamy. And then I wanted to say that it was fresh when I was talking about it earlier, but then I thought, well,
and then I cut you off.
It's sour cream. No, well, I mean, it's sour. If it's not fresh, you're going to know. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
good point.
this is not something that's going to age well.
Yeah, exactly.
But on the other hand, too, sour cream has a pretty long shelf life, I think, right? For dairy products. I mean, it's already sour, you know,
yeah.
It doesn't get, it just grows mold after that, right? It's kind of
True.
like yogurt. I mean, yogurt doesn't really go bad. It just propagates, you know, like you can take like a teaspoon of yogurt and mix in like a gallon of milk, and in a couple weeks, you'll just have a gallon of yogurt.
More yogurt.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah, it just self-propagates like that. So and like I said, you can pretty much age it as long as you want, and as long as it's relatively refrigerated. I don't really think yogurt goes bad, per se.
Don't listen to any of this.
For those of you
Well,
listening
follow
at
the
home,
expiration dates, please.
Please age out your yogurt. Follow an E recipe.
Rotate your stock. It's very important.
Mix up a gallon of milk. This is a recipe.
Ooh.
Go ahead and take a gallon of milk, put in a tablespoon of yogurt, shake it up, age it for a month, and report back to us.
Yeah, I don't think that honestly works, but it's...
God, it sounds
No,
miserable.
I actually think it does work. I'm actually not joking, but I wouldn't try that. I would just go buy yogurt, but I do think that is literally true.
Oh, that's gross.
I know they make like
gross.
yogurt makers and whatnot. Like, I mean, maybe that sounds kind of gimmicky, which it probably is to a certain point, but
Yeah, sounds like an easy bake oven.
yeah, almost. I do think there might be a little bit more to it than just dumping it into a gallon of milk and letting it sit for a month, but
Maybe.
I'm taking a hard stance on this. That's
who
all there
knows?
is to it. That's all they're doing at the fucking yogurt factory.
Hey, you figured out Dan and Yogurt's going to go out of business tomorrow. You figured it all out.
Well, and to be fair, there's a pretty big difference between what I would consider like high quality yogurt, like a Greek yogurt,
Love
and
Greek yogurt.
the shit that Dannon is putting out, which is, white goo,
Yeah.
Love Greek yogurt.
What about Go-Gurt? How do you feel about Go-Gurts?
That's the
no, it's
That was
still...
a staple of my childhood.
in the squeeze pack or something.
Yeah, they come out in a little tube. You suckle them out of a tube.
Oh boy.
No thanks.
I mean, they were fine. We usually served frozen when I was a kid, if I remember, but... Okay, well, let's get back onto the actual topic of the actual dip we were talking about this week. Eric is probably the least... Well, we've discussed before your problems with dairy. You're lactose intolerant. Would you like to lead us off with your kind of initial tasting notes on this?
Sure. It's, boy, gosh, yeah, it's tough to say because, I mean, I already said earlier that I don't care for sour cream. But, this is a very creamy. It's got onion flavor to it. It's got a nice mouthfeel, a good smell. It's very pleasant. I feel like I feel like I'm coming across negatively here, and I'm not trying to.
No, you're right. It's hard to describe, and I think I know why. But before I color your judgment, Tori, what are your kind of initial tasting thoughts?
My tasting thoughts. I thought it was sort of ranchy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I thought it smelled
tang?
a bit ranchy. Yeah, a little tangy. Certainly creamy. Duh. And I smelled it smelled cheesy to me.
Cheesy.
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay.
I sort of got and it was along the lines of that ricotta cheese, or
Yeah.
not a hard cheese, but certainly smelled reminiscent
Yep.
of cheese. I got to mention it. It had a very nice jiggle to it.
Oh yeah, Eric had showed us the gelatinous blob
Yeah.
shake of it.
So that was pleasant. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was ranchy, very
Yeah.
ranchy.
It's funny. I was actually going to say that, when we get to the actual ratings, I'm going to have a really hard time rating this against ketchup. I almost feel like we should be rating this against ranch as our number 5. But I don't know about changing our whole rating.
You're not
and
doing
everything.
it so much as like compare and contrast flavors. I just meant that is kind of like, your middle of the road.
It's a
average
benchy.
thing.
It's exactly.
Yeah, it's a benchy.
There we go. For all of our 3D printing nerds out there.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that lately. You're still working on your... Did you give your brother his Viking ship thing?
I did. He was
Did you
happy.
throw it in the trash immediately? Did you say, why the fuck isn't this painted?
No. It still needed some assembly too. I gave him I gave it in
Jesus.
parts.
You
and
gave him a
pieces.
job.
I did. Yeah. He was like, I'm not gonna put that together anytime soon. He's way too busy.
He's
with
just
his
like
job.
you. Yeah, he's going to sit in his closet for the next 18 years.
His son will probably put it together before then. Who actually, that was funny too. For Christmas, I bought my nephew a catapult, a laser cut wooden one that you
You
have
didn't
to
3D
build.
print him one?
I did not. And then my sister got him one that was like another catapult, build your own, but it was like plastic components and like some gears you had to fit together and some magnets, I guess. I don't know. It was
Fucking lame.
It was pretty
nice.
hilarious. So we both got him catapults, and
Oh.
we
Catapult
did
wars.
not we did not coordinate this.
And I think it's funny because as a parent, I can only imagine that the last thing you want your child to have is a catapult, let alone 2 catapults.
Cool.
2 catapults, and I also got them some of that Aaron's putty. So yeah, I'm sure my sister-in-law hates me.
Well, when you're the cool uncle like you are,
Right.
That's right.
because you are, I would imagine, the coolest uncle. I wish you were my uncle.
Thanks, TG.
That type of thing.
I'm happy that your brother has children. And speaking of his children finishing projects, I was actually thinking that it might be possible that it might be faster for you to find a girlfriend and then have children and let them grow to adulthood and have them finish your projects than it would be for you to finish your projects on your own.
Wowee. The long con.
Well, we are still working on the bathroom. I don't know if we've dated. That probably goes back to episode 1. We were talking about you working on your bathroom project. So
That probably does go back to episode 1. I'm sure it does.
That goes back to the Roosevelt administration.
yeah.
Oh boy.
But no, getting back to the actual, I wanted to kind of bounce off what you were saying there, Tori, about the actual dip this week, because I think you kind of touched upon what I was thinking was kind of the key component there, was that a lot of times if you get like that Daisy sour cream or another like generic national brand like that, and you open it up, you can smell it, and it smells vaguely dairy-ish. You taste it, and it tastes like nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is the key to a good dip like this, is to have that good base of sour cream in it. And I think that's the key, is that with good quality, local, especially dairy products, they have a flavor on their own. And this sour cream, I know particularly their sour cream has that kind of, like you said, almost a cheesy type, which doesn't sound good to hear it described like that, but it has its own flavor. It serves as a really good base to build a lot of different dips on. So, for example, the other day I actually just got some of the plain sour cream, and I mixed in a lot of dill weed.
Nice.
And some others, a little bit of salt and some pepper and a little bit of garlic, etc. But just really heavy on the dill. And I mean, you can make a phenomenal sauce just by adding some various spices and stuff to that. It's almost like cheating. Whereas if you do that with a more plain sour cream, a lot of times it falls pretty flat because the sour cream doesn't have any flavor on its own. So I think that's actually the key.
When you say flavor, it doesn't have the milky richness, is what you're saying.
Right.
Like that, like you said, like cheese. It has like a certain heft to it. Where I mean, I think Daisy sour cream, it's sour, but it's a lot lighter. I mean, it falls in the realm of sour cream. Is supposed to be this sour dairy-based whip of sorts, but
to me, they almost serve different purposes. Like to me, if I wanted to throw some sour cream in a chili or something like that, just to take a little bit of the heat off, I think Daisy's perfectly suitable for that.
Or making frosting out of it. I think that made really good frosting because I was whipping it anyways, and you want to have something that's kind of light and semi. I just put, what was it? I forget. It was like a cup of sugar and you just whip it into the sour cream, and it makes this really actually delicious.
We're getting
frosting.
a lot of recipes tonight.
Unsolicited recipes.
But no, I think if you want to build something off a good solid base that doesn't can kind of stand on its own, I think you got to go with a good local quality sour cream, something like BL.
And something more, like you said, like cream based is what we're saying. We're going for more of that rich, milky, dairy stuff that just hates me.
For my money.
On that note, would you be willing to give us your customary read on the ingredients?
Sure. This is a pretty easy ingredient list here.
Easy.
We've got cultured milk and cream.
That's what makes the difference, is the culture in the milk.
There you go.
Oh, I'm sure. From those PA cows.
It goes to art exhibits on the weekends.
Yes.
Goes down to the Mattress Factory, another north side area, local Pittsburgh institution.
Right.
No, it's not. Aren't they pretty wide reaching? I mean, they're definitely in Ohio.
Mattress Factory?
Yeah.
You're thinking
the museum.
Not. Yeah.
I was thinking the company.
But they're here too.
Not the original Mattress Factory. Yeah, I guess we should have clarified that. There is a museum in Pittsburgh an art museum called the Mattress Factory.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I was surprised. I could generally consider you a worldly, traveled man.
Yeah,
Eric.
I like museums too. I'm surprised.
I'll have to make a trip there.
All right. And then there's seasonings added to this milk and cream. And the seasonings consist of salt, dehydrated onion, hydrogenized soy. No, how do you spell it?
Just give it a shot. Salt.
Yeah. Protein, monosodium glutamate, sugar, dehydrated parsley, dextrose, dehydrated garlic, spices, extra actives, soybean oil, processing
Unlike
aid.
you.
Right.
Non-actives.
And calcium stearate, which is to prevent caking. That helps with the jiggle, I guess.
Ooh, nice. That's my favorite then.
We
And then
did
also
start
some
this.
kosher gelatin.
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 You got that gelatinous cube.
That's
stuck
right.
on your
Gelatinous
mind.
cube.
No, the
Get
one
some
thing
D&D.
the one thing I thought was interesting there that I wouldn't have thought but makes perfect sense is the monosodium glutamate. If you're
Oh, of
familiar
course.
with that,
Oh, yeah.
MSG.
Yeah, MSG.
Yeah, it definitely gives that a lot of that unsavory umami taste. I mean, this is packing loads of that, definitely. So
You think? I don't think it comes through that strongly.
to me, I mean, it's different when you have it on something like that, like kind of a liquidy ingredient, as opposed to like Chinese food or something. But
Right.
no, I definitely think it's present. I think the dairy is kind of throwing you off a little bit, maybe.
It'll be throwing you off later, that's for sure.
That's for
the,
sure.
The sour cream and the umami flavor are kind of contrasting, so they They play off each other a little bit, but they also kind of cancel each other out a little bit. But I think if you just took a scoop of sour cream, you'd be able to tell the difference right away.
I'd believe that. I mean, like I said, I don't like sour cream, but this is very tasty. It's easy to eat.
Speaking of being easy to eat, I did want to mention a little bit about the chips that we tried this on. We did try it solely on chips. I know Eric was joking around earlier about his chicken nuggies, but no, we tried this on chips. And I brought over a few flavors, and we ended up kind of settling on just the two of them. And the first one was Cape Cod kettle cooked potato chips, and I got the waffle cut sea salt ones, just a plain one, to try it on initially. And I like these ones in particular because they've got a really nice kind of crunch to them, and they're a little stiffer with the kettle cook, so they're easy to scoop out the maximum quantity of the sauce into your mouth at a time.
I was gonna say the waffle cut there also helps to like give that like texture and like
I like the texture. I'm a big texture.
Well,
dude.
It helps to hold the dip, you know? It helps to really like get in there.
From a structural standpoint, kettle chips have to be hardier, right?
Hardier.
Well, they're thicker, definitely. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, I mean, the structural integrity of a kettle chip has to be more so than that of your Lay's or Hers original.
Oh, right? Yeah. If you were going to build something, I would definitely choose a kettle cooked chip.
Good. Okay, that's the type of confirmation I need.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if you want to construct, have you ever seen those little 5-minute how-to video things where they'll take like a dented piece of wooden furniture and they'll fill it with ramen noodles and super glue? Yeah,
that can't be real.
No, definitely. Yeah, definitely real. I mean, I've done some woodworking like that. I've never used ramen, but yeah, you can use almost anything as a filler. The super glue is actually providing a lot of the structural integrity. Yeah, cyanoacrylate glues, super glues provide are very, in addition to adhesion, you can actually use those as a wood finish, and they have a pretty good, they need something to bond to, but they have a lot of structural integrity of their own.
Well, I'll be damned.
Getting back to our things, I really wanted to plug this second one because this is a chip that I discovered, I want to say spring or summer of 2020 in our area. I first saw it at local Giant Eagles, and I gave it a shot, and I have become infatuated with these chips ever since. I mean, this is absolutely my new favorite flavor by far. Why don't you give us a little bit of a read there, Eric?
Sure, I'd be happy to. We have Zapp's Potato Chips New Orleans Kettle Style Voodoo. It's quite the name.
Yeah, Voodoo is a flavor, which, is there anything, a little bit of copy on the back there that you want to read it?
Sure. So Zapp's Potato Chips, this is their New Orleans Kettle Style chips, and they're cooked to perfection, combined with premium ingredients. It's a crunchier, tastier, and unique potato chip experience. We hope you enjoy. It is a good potato chip. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I wanted to give them a shout out because, like I said, to me, these are, we're not a podcast about potato chips, but these have got to get a shout out.
They're excellent.
They're too good. I know initially, Eric, we had went on a camping trip over this past summer, and I think I introduced them to you there. And then I bought you a bag because I'm turning everyone on to these things I possibly can. They're phenomenal.
You are the Zapp's potato chip missionary if there ever was one.
Oh, absolutely. And they have a whole variety of other flavors, but this one in particular, it blows my socks off. I'd like it, Eric, if you'd give us a read on the ingredients for these, too, because I have my own thoughts, but I'm curious what they say officially.
Now, didn't we also, was that with you, Tori? I got the spicy ones?
Yeah, I had the extra hot ones one time,
yeah.
And they lit me up, boy.
Those were jalapeno?
They were uncomfortable. No, they were this,
voodoo,
but they were the extra hot voodoo ones.
And I know they make, like I said, they make a couple other ones. Their names are all kind of weird. They have one called the Evil Eye, which is bright red and spicier.
Wow.
A short little funny story about this. I was actually trying to buy these chips, and Adam was like, oh yeah, I just got them at Giant Eagle. So I went to Giant Eagle. They didn't have them. I went to another Giant Eagle. I went to Shop and Save. I ended up ordering them on Amazon because I could not find these darn chips.
And I'd gotten you hooked. I got you. Your first one was free, kind of like your local heroin dealer. I'd gotten you hooked on them.
Right. So I had to buy 4 big bags of these Voodoo chips, and it's funny. They arrived, a few days with Amazon, and they were all in a Walmart box.
Really?
I was
like a shipping box.
Yeah, like a Walmart shipping box.
That's interesting.
So then So I made sure to have to look for them at Walmart. But I
haven't seen them at Walmart
either.
I've seen them at some local stores, like I said, Giant Eagles. I've seen them in Giant Eagles, even out into eastern Ohio. I've seen them there.
I've seen them at dollar stores.
Oh, really?
That's where I bought those chips at the dollar store.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow, okay. Well, like I said, go ahead and give us a little read on the ingredients there, if you would, Eric.
We have, obviously, potatoes, and then peanut oil or a blend of peanut oil and canola oil, corn oil or sunflower oil, sugar, salt, sodium sodium
We're waiting with bated breath.
diacetate,
Okay.
torula yeast, dextrose, onion powder.
This was a mistake.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, they're potato chips.
Yeah. What are you gathering off of these ingredients?
There's some garlic powder, paprika, turmeric extract, and paprika spice and smoke flavor.
Yeah. We want a chemistry lesson.
Had to
Maybe
get over
we'll have
all
to do
those
some
chemicals.
rules in the future where we only read the readable ingredients, not the fucking. We don't even probably could skip right over the xanthan gum because now that we know what that does.
Yeah.
No, but I think, and you guys can feel free to agree or disagree with this statement, but I feel like the best way to describe these chips, we had mentioned kettle cooked, obviously a little bit thicker. I actually feel like they are kind of like a sweet and very slightly spicy barbecue sauce mixed with salt and vinegar.
Yep, nailed it.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good description. Yeah.
For those of you who may be familiar with Ruffles, just came out with a couple of years ago, just came out with a Canadian flavor, all dressed. That is probably the closest, but to me, these are, I don't know, 5 times that good.
They're in a league of their own. They're
phenomenal.
Amazing.
If I could rate these would get a 12 out of 10.
Wowee.
I will eat these until my gums bleed. I will sit down and eat an entire bag.
That'll happen too.
And I can't, they'll give you tongue ulcers. Like I ate an entire bag and couldn't feel my tongue for the next week.
Yeah, that's a really uncomfortable, weird feeling.
Which salt and vinegar does a lot. I think it's like whatever that dried vinegar powder or whatever they use is. But I mean, it's worth it. Sit down and eat an entire bag in one sitting.
Me too. What the hell?
Official recommendation.
They're small.
These particular bags.
Well, these bags are small ones. They sell bigger ones, but
yeah, I had the big ones from Amazon.
Nice.
Yeah, these are phenomenal. So, okay, well, let's move back on to our. Now that we gave them that nice little plug.
It's Utz's, by the way. I don't think we mentioned that.
Yeah, that's the parent company, right?
Yeah.
I assume they were a smaller company originally, and they branched out due to their Utz ownership,
Does it
right?
say that anywhere?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh yeah. Look at that.
Does it say on there? Does it say owned by or distributed by, or just say Utz?
A division of Utz Quality Foods LLC, Hanover, PA.
Yes, like I said, we've already voted a long enough thing here. We don't need to go into full in-depth research on these guys online. But like I said, if you guys have them near you and you see them in your store, they tend to sell out fast. If you can find them, check them out.
Give them a spin.
Or buy them on Amazon if you can't find them.
Buy them on Amazon, by all means. But let's kind of wheel back around to our sauce. We kind of did our initial tasting notes, and I mean, I think we're ready to kind of do our ratings. The thing about this sauce is probably not the most complex dip or type of thing that we've done. Definitely a little bit different. Like I said, we branched out a little bit, but well, I don't want to spoil my rating too much, but I think phenomenal. Why don't you?
I'll start since I'm the dairy hater of the group here.
Lead us off, Eric.
Not by choice, though.
Not by choice. Yeah, this, I feel bad to give it such a low rate. It's not low. I mean, like, let's say, we all know I like ketchup. Ketchup is our 5. I'm going to say this is a 6.5. It's pleasant. It's good to eat. I think that's fair.
For the listeners that can't see, Tori and I are in shock.
Yeah, we just gave each other the eyeball here.
My eyes about popped out of my head.
Yeah, the eyebrows are flaring.
I still can't tell. Is that in shock of like, wow, you thought I gave a really good rating? Or is
Tori
that shock
is
of
shaking?
Yeah, dude, I'm half tempted to jump over this table,
my
choke you out.
face is purple.
Pissing some people off. All right, well,
Hey,
that's my rating.
Take a
Setting
stand.
a fire in your trash can.
Take a stand. I'm going to plug in your microwave and then leave.
You know what? As a favor, I had bought us all our own little tub of this sauce to taste, and after that rating, I might take your fucking tub back.
You have been
revoked. I don't think you fucking earned it. So, piece of shit. We haven't said that in quite a while. I'm bringing that back hardcore. I gave you way too much credence last episode. I got to take all that shit away, you piece of shit.
Wow. Tori.
Being attacked. All right, Tori, what did you think of
All right,
this
salvage
sauce?
fucking tanks our average rating already, you piece of dog shit. That's what pisses me off most of all.
I mean, that's usually my
is that
job.
now when the people will go on the fucking website and look up the ratings, they're going to say, the average is only 8.888 because fucking piece of shit gave it a 6.
Yeah.
Because if you don't like sour cream or creamy sauces or dips, this is not for you.
I'm going to take a sour cream dip shit on your fucking front porch when I leave.
Wow.
All right, Tori, why don't you salvage this a little
borderline
bit?
terrorism out here. Okay, well, yeah, of course. Well, B&L, naturally, it holds a near and dear place in my heart. I can remember being a wee lad, a wee little tyke, and just eating the living hell out of this with my mother. So, geez, it's hard for me to give this any type of bad rating. One question I did have for you. Again, keeping with, I think these chips and that particular dip would go great with a Pepsi.
I think you're closer on this one. I don't think
agree,
it's.
yeah.
You won't get. You'll get a scoff from me. You won't get stunned silence like you got last time.
Yeah, and I was listening to the show today, and I still can't believe that because I don't know.
For listeners who haven't heard, we're referring to the Bertman's ballpark mustard episode that came out today as we're recording.
I don't know how that wouldn't be an automatic home. I don't know how that just wouldn't even just come into your brain organically. But whatever. Beside the point.
I actually had in my notes to blast you about that some more.
I'm still, I still can't.
And you're doing it for me.
Whatever. I mean, you're wrong. You're still wrong. But regardless, I was curious as to if, how well this would fare with a Pepsi. That was my ultimate question.
I think you're a lot closer on this one, to be honest with you.
I was close the first time, and I'm close this time too.
If you're drinking something that's acidic-y and also has that carbon, it really helps to clear all that cloying, thick, creamy gunk.
You sound like grandma after 2 packs of cigarettes after a couple of dips into that here. Yeah, right. You get all.
Hey, Tori.
Yeah, right.
Pass me the dip.
But we had to talk about sour cream, and for my money. If I'm making tacos or something at home, I would go for the Greek yogurt in lieu of regular sour cream on like a taco, or even like you mentioned.
Now, who turned you on to that?
Even like a chili. That was my wife. That was my wife.
Not so silly now, is she?
No, well,
she turned me on to that too. That's how I know.
The blind squirrel. I say that analogy a lot, but that that works in this instance too.
You give her the nut.
The blind squirrel. Whoa. Hey now. Wow. But yeah, so I suppose
official podcast position. We respect women on the show.
That's right. You have to make very certain of that. But yeah, so it's a great sauce. I mean, it's a great dip. The Zapp's chips from Utz, I mean, they just took it to a whole nother level. I mean, it was a 10 coming into it. The 10 Zapp's, I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to go 10 to the power of 10. Wow. Because we got 10 and 10.
You're just trying to fix my average there. You're gonna make it 100.
Dude,
so
it is my job, Agent of Chaos over here, to screw you guys up. So yeah, we're gonna go 10 to the power of 10, and I'm gonna give it a nickname. It's gonna be called Fingers and Toes.
Wow, very good. I can't argue. You know what? I am going to keep mine. Normally, I like to rant on for about half hour in my rating. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I cannot imagine, like I said, based off of my hometown favorite sauce that I find identical to this, I cannot imagine how you could possibly make a better version of this sauce. This is something that doesn't share the fault I found with the ballpark mustard, where you could possibly put too much on. To me, as much as the structural integrity, as we had mentioned, of a chip will hold, I am willing to put on a chip of this dip. I do not see how it could be possibly better at achieving its purpose. 10 out of 10.
Nice. Well done. And push the chip to the limit, please.
And as far as the chips go, Zapp's, Voodoo, Kettle Cooked chips, I've already mentioned 12 out of 10. And I will not back down on that.
Oof. You're going to die on that hill, huh?
Now, since I didn't give a
I
voting
would
for the
like you to give us a chip rating, too. You're probably going to say fucking 3, and I'm going to leave. I'm just going to fucking end the podcast right here.
That's an international incident waiting to happen.
No, I'm going to give the chips, I think I'm going to give them a solid 9.
Okay.
Maybe even a 9.5.
All right.
They are really good. It's weird. I think.
How would you make a better chip?
I think they're unfortunately, they're inconsistent.
What?
Oh,
they are.
I found
watch it.
Perfect consistency with these. Every batch I've gotten, and I've eaten straight up every day of the week. I've eaten some before. I've never had that issue.
I've found some of them to be more like with more spice in it, more spice, more
Really?
flavor, and some that were just more like just vinegar. I was a little disappointed by one bag of chips before, and I was baffled by it. And then I had the hot, and I thought, well, maybe this is what I was remembering.
Really?
Which was good, but also very hot. It was like painfully hot.
I actually take the complete opposite position on these chips because with these, a lot of times with chips, especially I'm thinking of like a Cool Ranch Dorito or like the aforementioned Ruffles. Sometimes I'll get a bag of those and I feel like there is no seasoning on it, especially like the Cool Ranch Doritos. I love that Cool Ranch flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll get them, I'll see 2 or 3 little blue and red specks on them, and I get none of the flavor. And then some of them are like encrusted in that Cool Ranch that I love.
Right,
and that's a national fucking chain. That is their bread and butter. That is their ball game.
Yeah.
Is to be consistent. And I've also seen online people pull little balls of the seasoning out of their bags sometimes, you know, and that grosses me out. I would probably eat it, but but with this, I'm polar opposite on this. To me, these color-wise, coating-wise, seasoning-wise, flavor-wise, I have never experienced a hint of that inconsistency. And I think Utz as a whole, they make a lot of chips that I've found to be remarkably affordably priced, amazing flavors, and they're not afraid to go a little on the bold side, and very consistent.
Yeah, and I guess I don't want to. I'm not trying to down it on points because I got a bag that didn't have as much seasoning.
Well, you are.
Because, like you said, Doritos has done that to me as well, and Cool Ranch. I just think it could be a touch more spicy. You know, I just feel like there could be a little bit more of a kick to it, and then the hot one was a little too much. I'd love it if there was something a little bit in between that. That's why there's room for, in my personal opinion, a touch different for perfection.
The only thing I gotta disagree with on that is that to me they're hitting all the notes I like. A little bit of sweet, a little bit of spice, and that salt and vinegar, which is another one of my absolute favorite flavors. And to me, man, if they went any more on any of those notes, to me it would be kind of overpowering. I mean, they already got a lot going on. This is a delicate balance.
True.
So to me, any more heat, I don't think I need it.
And then back to the sour cream dip here, since I can only get myself more in trouble
now.
I can only get myself in more trouble here. Is I think I mentioned earlier that I had
crucify you in your own house.
I had tried the versions that are made from a powder, and they have like a dehydrated onion flakes in them.
Careful.
And they're delicious when you hit them. When you're like chewing on like a chip and whatnot, and you come across that like onion.
So your complaint is that you wish this sauce had more desiccated husk in it? That's what you would prefer?
Yes.
They're going to find your fucking dehydrated body on your fucking bed. That's what I think. Jesus Christ. You know how like when you fuck something up and you don't mix it right and it's got fucking crunchy bits of whack in it? That's my... Oh, man, if I don't have something to just... If my sauce isn't toothy enough, I don't like it. Jesus. Every podcast, I like you less. Oh boy.
Yeah, E, I'm inclined to disagree with you, my man. I've only had maybe 3 bags of chips, of these particular chips, in all my days. So, I can't really speak to consistency one way or another, but I know Utz is a pretty big outfit.
Yeah.
So I would have to assume that they have the consistency game down pretty cold. When, to your point, whether or not they need more heat, I don't know. I'm sort of with Adam on this one. I think they're stone cold winners, dude. I think you can't lose.
And I love heat.
Yeah, and me not so much. So to find that, to strike that happy medium, boy, you may have a winner there, dude.
I mean, these are great chips. I mean, I don't think a 9 and 9.5 is a bad rating.
No, but it's not a 10. So
no, I'm willing to change to a chip podcast just for these chips. We'll do them every fucking episode. Okay, well, I mean, actually, I feel like we kind of oversold the chips now compared to the sauce, which the sauce is also phenomenal.
Yeah, the sauce is great. Yeah, I mean, it's been around from 1930 for a reason.
Right, they're doing something.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am curious if every little small hometown thing has their own version of this dip by another name, kind of similar to my Lawson's. If there's a million of these little mom and pop one store outfits that sell dip, and if you are from another area in Ohio or otherwise, and you're familiar with the Lawson's chip dip, please chime in and let us know. I would love to hear that they are more than one store in the world that sells this dip.
It's not a figment of your imagination.
Well, I know that. I can attest to that. Some of my other Ohio homies. Well, I think that's going to do it this week for our review on the BL French Onion Sour Cream Dip. Grade A pasteurized. Pittsburgh's own You got any closing thoughts you want to send us off with this week, Eric?
Yeah, absolutely. It's fun to always try something new and try something outside of your normal, wheelhouse of foods. And so, this week was exciting for me for this particular dip to try out.
Did you take your Lactaid pills tonight?
I did not. That's why I took a very minimal amounts. I probably.
It's a good thing we're ending soon.
Almost did it a disservice. Maybe I should have taken some Lactaid pills and just shoveled in by the spoonful like you guys were.
I mean, you knew in advance we were doing this. It's not like I told you 30 seconds before we walked in. You could have slammered some of those.
Yeah, a slammer.
Could have slammered some of them.
You guys slammered enough for me. That's you guys have your own.
Yeah, you probably would have rated it fucking better if you would have had some.
I don't know.
Jesus Christ.
I think my rating was fair enough. It's still good. It's a good dip.
I hope you don't fall down your stairs on accident later.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Hopefully, I'll make it around to next week's podcast. Hopefully, find a way to kill me.
You're going back to guest status. You haven't been there for quite a while. What about you, Tori? You got any little bits to wrap up with here this week?
Yeah, I most certainly do. I'm glad that at least some of us could take a couple of moments out of our busy schedule this evening to stop shoveling this good stuff in our gullets long enough to give it a rating, and a pretty high rating we certainly did give it. But yeah, I mean, in closing, of course, as a Pittsburgh sauce, we're very being a Pittsburgh native, I have no crucial integral part into this sauce, but heck, I'm proud that it came from basically down the street from where I grew up, and yeah, so I guess the message here tonight is a little bit of pride isn't bad. So be proud of yourself, be proud of your accomplishments. I would only imagine how hard you worked to get those accomplishments. So it's okay. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, just in closing, again today, it's fresh in my mind. A Spoken Mess podcast. Our good friend Allie, he invited us on. So I implore you, please hop on YouTube and look him up. He has a really great show. He has a lot of great, interesting people, including myself. How could you lose, right? But yeah, so go ahead and hop on YouTube and look him up. He's worth it. Yeah.
So if you can't get enough of us, there's a nice way you can kind of stop by and get a little bonus content, at least from probably the most pleasant to listen to of the group anyways.
I agree, absolutely. 100%.
Stop by and check that episode out. And if you can't get more of us by any other method, make sure to go ahead and stop by our website if you'd like to see some of our rating information. If you ever want to go back and kind of do a quick reference on, an episode we did, what we rated some stuff, if you want to find out which one of us rated something way too low and stop by and egg their house and you need to remember who exactly that was, that's a way to do that. Or if you want to see how our current rankings for the sauces stack up, we post that on there. We post a list of top, best to worst sauces, as well as a heat index for those of you who are interested in that kind of information. You're looking for something a little spicy. The website is saucespoken.wordpress.com. And lastly, as we mentioned earlier in the show, if you'd like to help us out, the best way to do that right now is to go ahead and go on to like an iTunes or Apple Podcasts or whatever service you're listening to us on. And if they have a way to rate us or give us a review, if you can do that for us, we really appreciate it. And it helps us kind of, grow our audience and reach out to more people, which then in turn helps us to be able to keep providing content for you guys. And we really like doing that, and we hope you guys do too. That'll do it for this week. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next week. Wow, thanks for listening. Of all of our episodes that we've done so far, that sure was one of them. If you'd like to give us some feedback, perhaps you'd like to tell us how much you don't like me interrupting or making fun of E, feel free to send us an email at saucespoken@gmail.com. If you'd like another fun way to get a hold of us, feel free to reach out to us on Twitter at saucespoken. Sometimes we like to take some funny pictures, maybe follow up on some of the things we talked about on the podcast. If you'd like to check that out, look at our Instagram. We're at saucespokenofficial. Lastly, it really helps us out if you'd be willing to give us a rating or a review or a follow on whatever platform you're listening to us on. Thanks again for listening, and make sure to check us out next week. We'll be here with a fresh new episode and some hot takes on some hot sauces. This is Sauce Spoken.